Hey guys, Willie Mayette, creator of JAZZEDGE. Welcome to podcast episode number 36 now. Wow, 36 podcast episodes. And today what we're going to be talking about is an easier way to learn your scales. So this trick makes it a lot easier for you not only to be able to learn your scales, but then also be able to memorize them. Now, this podcast goes along with the Confident Improviser program found at JAZZEDGE. If you want to get the sheet music for what I'm talking about today, just head on back to JAZZEDGE and you can log in and grab the sheet music. Okay, so an easier way to learn our scales. So first of all, if we really just think about how many scales and chords and whatnot we have to learn, right? It's a lot, isn't it? There's a lot of chords, there's a lot of scales, and then we're trying to figure out how to be able to improvise around them and create songs and arrangements and memorize songs. So it's a lot of stuff to memorize. So what we want to do is we want to utilize certain tricks that are going to make it easier for us to memorize music, and whether that be songs, whether it be music theory, scales, whatever it is. Now, I want to pause for a second. I want to make sure that you understand that there's no one right way of memorizing this information. So there are tricks that many of us utilize, but you might come up with something individual for yourself. Maybe, I don't know, it's using colored scraps of paper or something like that to write down notes. So my point is this: don't feel as though you have to just fall into this particular bucket. Don't feel as though it's like, well, that doesn't really work for me, Willie. That doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that, okay, this concept doesn't work for you, but maybe something else will work for you. So feel free to think about your own learning process and what works best for you, and of course, try new things. All right, so let me show you a couple of examples here. So what I have found an easier way of not only teaching scales, but then also learning scales, is if you look at what is the same and what is different, right? So you remember those magazines you used to have as a kid, and it would be like, what's wrong with this picture, or what's different? Well, that's kind of the same thing that you're doing here with music theory. You're looking for stuff that's different, because why memorize stuff that is already the same, okay? Let me give you a perfect example. I have 4 minor scales right in front of me. I have, first of all, C natural minor. I have C harmonic minor, melodic minor, and Dorian. And what you will notice is that the first 5 notes of each of those 4 scales is exactly the same notes. Now that's important because it makes it a whole lot easier for us to be able to memorize these scales, because we know the first 5 notes are exactly the same. It's a C minor 5-finger pattern. So it's C, D, E flat, F, and G. Those are the first 5 notes of those 4 scales. Now the only thing that is different is the top 3 notes. Okay, that's it. And in reality, it's really the top 2 notes, right? So we have the first 5 notes here: C, D, E flat, F, and G. And then in the right hand, to make my natural minor scale, I add on A flat and B flat. And of course, I go up to C here as well, but we really don't have to count that note because it's just the octave, right? But let's just say the top 3 notes here. So we have A flat, B flat, and C. So that gives me flat 6 or flat 13, however you want to look at it. I would think of it as flat 6 here for natural minor, flat 7, and then back to my root. Okay, so that means for natural minor, I start with that minor 5-finger pattern, and then I do flat 6, flat 7 for the top 2 notes. Okay, so there's my natural minor. Harmonic minor, I keep the flat 6, but I go to a natural 7th. Okay, so natural minor is flat 6, flat 7. Harmonic minor is flat 6, natural 7. Melodic minor is natural 6 and natural 7. And Dorian is natural 6, flat 7. So do you see how much easier it is? You've been able to get 4 scales there, and really all that you have to memorize is 2 notes for each of those scales. Let's go through that again, make sure you fully understand that. So the first 5 notes of each of those 4 minor scales. And by the way, if you want to dig in more on these minor scales, we go through 3 of these in the Confident Improviser exercise number 28, because this also ties in with standards by the dozen number 6, which is doing My Funny Valentine. So anyway, so all right, so you have the first 5 notes here, C, D, E flat, F, and G. Those 5 notes are going to be the same first 5 notes for each of these 4 scales. And the 4 scales, again, I have in front of me are natural minor, harmonic minor, melodic minor, and Dorian. So for natural minor, I start with those 5 notes, right? And then I add on flat 6, flat 7. For harmonic minor, I start with those 5 notes and I add on flat 6, natural 7, right? The major 7th. For melodic minor, start with those 5 notes, add on 6 and 7, and then for Dorian, start with the 5 notes and add on 6 and flat 7. So if you start to look at your scales this way, you're going to notice that, oh, that's a lot easier for me to be able to memorize this. But then here's another trick. This one's really good. So a lot of times when improvising, we might say, well, gee, should I use harmonic minor or natural minor or Dorian or melodic minor? A lot of times it's really between natural minor and Dorian, okay? Because harmonic minor and melodic minor really kind of have their very unique sounds. But natural minor and Dorian are so darn close, sometimes you don't really know, should I be doing natural minor or should I be doing Dorian? Well, guess what? When you know that the first 5 notes of the scale are exactly the same on all 4 of these scales, you could just improvise using those first 5 notes. Forget about the top notes. Don't even do those top notes up there. You don't have to. So if I'm going to improvise over My Funny Valentine, right, which is the C minor over B, C minor over B flat, and then I'm going to do C minor 6 over A. So I could just improvise using all I did in the right hand was all 5-finger minor scale. I never hit those top notes up there, the flat 6, flat 7. I never bothered with them. I just stayed with the bottom 5 notes because guess what? I know they're going to work, you know? So, then I could make the argument that, oh, hey, I'm playing the natural minor scale or I'm playing the harmonic minor scale or Dorian. Well, guess what? I don't really know because I'm not playing any of those upper notes. When I play that 5-finger minor scale below, just these first 5 notes like this, well, guess what? It could be any one of those 4 minor scales. All right, let me give you another example. This might help to clarify a little bit more as well. So what I have in front of me here is the altered scale, the whole tone scale, and the Locrian scale. Now, the altered scale, you would typically use that on like flat 9, flat 13 chords, altered chords. The whole tone scale, you usually use that on like a sharp 5, a augmented chord, a C7 sharp 5, You use that. The Locrian scale, you typically use on that. You typically use that on your minor 7 flat 5 chords. All right, so you have 3 different scales here that are utilized on 3 different chord quality types. But what you'll notice is that the top 4 notes of each one of those scales is exactly the same notes again, all right? So the altered scale has the root, the flat 9, sharp 9, natural 3rd, okay? So here it's C, D flat, D sharp, and E natural. The top notes are F sharp. I have down A flat, B flat, and C. You can think of it as F sharp, G sharp, B flat, and C, however you want to think about it. Okay. The top notes are F sharp, A flat, B flat, C. Those top notes, those 4 notes there, are the same 4 notes for the whole tone scale and also for the Locrian. So altered is root, flat 9, sharp 9, 3rd. And then the top notes. Whole tone is root, 2nd, 3rd. So C, D, and E here. And then those top notes up there. Locrian is root, flat 9, sharp 9. And then it jumps up to your 11th, right? Or 4, okay? The F. Okay? So here I have C, D flat, E flat, F. And then my top 4 notes. So again, I can use the same idea of, I have, there's a double benefit here. The first benefit is that I can simply say, okay, let me just use those top 4 notes and I'll improvise over on those 4 notes because I don't know if I want to use Locrian or my altered scale. So I'll just kind of stay away from it and use those top 4 notes and see what I come up with there. Okay, so that's one benefit that you have. The other benefit is that now you're just having to memorize those bottom notes of the scale, right? So if I look at the difference between altered and Locrian, I could see that it's just 1 note different, right? There's only 1 note different between an altered scale and a Locrian scale, and that's the E. Now here I am in C, okay, in the key of C. So I have the E moving up to the F. So if I have C, D flat, D sharp, and E, that's my altered scale. If I have C, D flat, D sharp, and F, that's my Locrian scale, okay? And in the whole tone scale, it's just those C, D, and E, right? Whole notes, right? Or whole steps, I should say, okay? And that's how that scale is all built. It's all whole steps. All right, so hopefully that helps you to kind of see scales in a different way. Remember, I like to talk about my globe theory, and the globe theory is that if you have a globe of the Earth in front of you and you put Africa right in the front of the globe, okay, well, guess what? When you see Africa there, you're not going to see the rest of the world. You might not see the United States. You might not see Alaska. You might not see Hawaii. You might not see Japan, right? So there's a lot of places in the world that you're going to miss if you're just looking at the globe only from one vantage point. So to really get a full picture of the Earth, right, in this example, what do you have to do? You got to spin the globe. So that means you have to look at it from multiple vantage points. Okay, so you got to see it from multiple vantage points. In fact, there was a movie that I really kind of enjoyed called Vantage Point. Oh man, who was in that movie? Oh, I'm forgetting now. Well, anyway, you could take a look at it. But I keep wanting to say Lawrence Fishburne, but it wasn't Lawrence Fishburne. It was, it's going to bug me now. But there was the actor in there also played Bird, Charlie Parker, in the movie Bird. So definitely check it out. Really cool. All right, so anyway, in that movie, it's seeing a situation from different vantage points. So this is exactly the same thing I'm talking about. This is that globe theory. You see this, you see a concept from different vantage points. You see music theory from different vantage points, and then it makes it a little bit easier for you to understand music because now you're just not looking at it from one way. So this is just another vantage point. This is just another way of seeing how to create these scales. Okay? So anyway, that's it for today's podcast. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys next week.